I am so excited for today's guest. I am going to kick us off by talking a little bit about the launch of First Home IQ and then pass it over to you, JJ. But for anybody who somehow doesn't know JJ, JJ is one of the top leaders, LOs in the country, and also a fantastic human being. I have had the absolute honor and pleasure to be able to work a little bit with JJ through First Home IQ, being on our board, and has been one of our very top donor for the last 2 years. And JJ, just so appreciate you donating your time and resources to help support this mission.
Yeah, thanks for having me. And yeah, you guys are doing an amazing job. So there's a lot still to do.
Yes, yes. We are at a really exciting, pivotal time. I see many of our ambassadors on the call, and we could not do this without any of you. The whole idea is that we are closing the homeownership gap together through education and through trusted professionals. So the trusted professionals piece of this is absolutely key, and each one of you who decides to jump in and be part of this is, or doing this on your own, is making that mission possible. So really excited about where we are. I'm going to start by sharing a little bit of that new launch. If you haven't seen it yet, I'll share my screen, but we just launched our new website and several new websites. And let me just let Veronica in and share my screen. Um, so here we go. Okay. So yeah, we have our new website. This is where we have all of our ambassadors on that ambassador page. And then what I'm very excited about sharing is our new ambassador pages. So for all of those of you who are an ambassador, you have your own page and you have had your own page, but we did a big renovation around this. I published an article on Housing Wire this week talking a little bit about the why and how that we've created the process around this, but thinking about the way that people consume information and how nervous people are about even talking about homeownership with a professional. We're trying to ease that pain a little bit. I was just talking with a friend this morning who wants to buy a home, and he was like, I know how much I can afford, kind of thinking through some of that. He was like, I think, but I don't want to talk to a loan officer yet. And it's just this anxiety around all of that. And I was like, okay, well, just check out this page, play around with some of the in the plan. There's a bunch of calculators and things like that. And he started playing around with that and was like, okay, actually, I do feel more comfortable with this. You can introduce me to a loan officer. And I thought this is exactly what this process is about, is helping to really create that, create that kind of comfortability around starting that process. So everyone who's an ambassador has your own page. We set it up so that it feels as though you're right there alongside them. They can have you review their plan together. They're kind of getting comfortable with what the process is like. They can take the quiz, which you guys have always had, but that kind of measures your understanding of buying your first home. And you get the name, email, and results of anyone that takes that quiz or who completes the plan and reaches out to you. And then there's also a guide. This is a new thing in here as well that has then your information in that guide. And it kind of walks through what's in the calculators, but in text format. And at the bottom, it has your information, your page, your quiz, ways to reach out to you. So that's a big highlight. If you are not yet an ambassador and you just want to play around with those resources, share those in your markets, we do have a free website, all thanks to our ambassadors and donors, learn.firsthomiq.com. And you can share this. Has the exact same thing. Start my plan, takes people through using those calculators, or they can just play around with the calculators here and take courses. There's all kinds of resources in there. So definitely share that out, be part of leading with education. And then the last thing I want to share with you guys before we move on is our new teach resources. So we've got Learn for consumers, which is also then you've got your personal version of that for ambassadors. And then we have Teach for housing professionals. And this is where there's a bunch of free resources in here, as well as extra resources for ambassadors, just like what you've had before, but kind of upgraded and elevated. So I would love for you guys to dig around in here. We just launched this last week, so I am positive there's going to be things that you're like, this is kind of clunky, or it'd be cool if we had this in here. Would love your feedback, your input as you play around in here. For those of you who are logged in as an ambassador, it will
No, I'm picking
show
up
your
for Noelle,
page,
Noelle,
additional
Enriquez.
resources. Oh, I'm gonna try to figure out how to mute people. I'm going solo on this hosting thing, so it's a little hard. Okay, so on the teach resources, just wanted to show you all your masterminds and replays are in here. You can access the research, the games, playbooks, ways to promote your page if you're an
3382 Harmon
ambassador.
Road South to
And
Cuesta.
then let me see if I can um,
What
figure
is it?
out there. Oh, I'm gonna mute all. Okay. There we go. Just unmute yourself if you're chiming in with a question or a thought. Okay, so last thing I wanted to share is on all of these resources. Many of them are available to all of you. There's extra for the ambassadors, just like we had before, but a lot of these are upgraded. So definitely dig around. Our Jeopardy game looks cooler than it did before. So just let's see, just dig around, play with the resources. Let me know if anything comes up that you're like, this would be cool to have, or to make things a little bit more accessible. Oh, and the last thing I forgot to mention, I would love your help with let me just go to the homepage with sharing the word out. So if you are, whether you're an ambassador or you are just a supporter of education, you can use just the regular education site, or it'll auto populate if you're an ambassador and you're signed in. But you can put in your name, add in your why, and this will show up in the community as part of your why. And then it will also create a graphic for you. So if you're signed in, it will already pull in your headshot and all that kind of stuff. Or you can upload, adjust that, and then share that out. And there's some scripting here to make that easier for you. So we just love your help in getting the word out. It helps to share the education, share the resources, and make this launch really something that helps boost not only the education, but also your business, and helping create awareness around you being part of that mission as well. All right, so that was just kind of quick highlights of the summary. I'll be dripping out some of those features over the next few days. But now I'm really excited for us to talk about the topic that we have at hand with JJ. I was really interested, JJ, as you shared, what you were thinking about talking about, because so many of us, including myself, kind of got into bought a home and have felt stuck in where we are, because we got in at a low interest rate, and that's just kind of the conversation that we've had as an industry of like, there's a lot of people that feel stuck in that. And you brought up that there is this opportunity to access more business and to help people access, move up or move out through different strategies. So I'd love for you to share a little bit of why this topic came up and how it came about, and then dig into sharing some of those strategies with us.
Yeah, you bet. So it came about because for me, so I started in the business in 1996. Prior to that, it was 1993. It was Thanksgiving. I was 16 years old. My mom was pulling the turkey out of our oven like any other Thanksgiving, except the difference was this was a microwave oven, and we were living in a 600 square foot hotel room. Myself, my mom, my dad, and my two brothers. And I was really angry and I was really ashamed. At that point, my dad had filed bankruptcy, I think for the third time. I always joked, if my dad gave you first and last month's rent, it was probably going to be the first and last month's rent you'd ever get. And my dad really he really worked hard and lived off of working hard for a long time. But like most, you see, we formulate our money pattern foundation by about 7 years old. My dad at 7 years old was born during the Great Depression. So for him, it was hard work and get what you need and keep working hard, get what you need. But the reality is that works so long until it stops working. And so for me, it was a driver of success. I got into this business about 3 years later, decided I was going to work really hard, became a success until I found myself in that cycle in 2009. And I lost and I had to file bankruptcy. And everything that I thought I knew about money was wrong, but it was all I knew about money. So up to about 7 is when we formulate our foundation. From 7 to 12 is when we're in observation mode. From typically about 12 to 14 on is we're in practice mode. So think about that. Literally, how you are today, unless you took the time to change your course and trajectory because of something. And my friend Jen just talked about this, where it's like the ball, the rock in the field. Like if you're a baseball and the ball hits a rock, it changes trajectory pretty quickly. In coaching, we love to do that. If you don't, then you're probably sitting here with the 7 to 12-year-old view about money. Maybe it's scarcity, maybe it's fear, maybe it's abundance, and you don't even have abundance, but you grew up with abundance and you're stuck in abundance mode, spending too much money. But it's usually a really, really nasty place. And so I was sitting there thinking about it, and Tom Ferry, a good friend, and I were sitting having coffee, and I was like, "Hey, man, I came up with this idea that I don't think anyone's thinking about." And he looked at it, he's like, "Holy shit, pardon my French." And I was like, "Yeah, I know." And so he's like, "Hey, do you want to speak at the summit?" And I said yes, not thinking two things about it until I get there and realize it was 5,000 real estate agents and 15,000 streaming agents, and I had to talk. And I was, obviously nervous about it, but I was confident in the topic and the subject matter. And when I did, we got 3,900 call to actions in that 20-minute talk that I did. So this talk that I'm going to walk you through is that data to tell you how important it is, and how it just finally the light bulb went on for everyone, because most of you on this call are these people. And so I'll start with, the reality is do you know your life rate? Do you know your life rate? And most people have no idea what their life rate is. And they're gonna be like, "Well, what is a life rate?" And I'll be like, "Well, what's your mortgage rate?" And they'll be like, "Oh, my mortgage rate is 4%. My mortgage rate is 3.5%. Awesome, cool. Well, your life rate is the rate that you pay on everything else in your entire life. Do you know what that rate is? And most people don't. And they're ignorant to it because they're afraid, they're scared, they don't want to know, they're ashamed, they don't want to think about it. But as I'll show you all, their life rate's 11.8. That's their rate, the one that no one knows about and thinks about and talks about. So that's why I'll start sharing the slides, if that's okay, Kristen, and kind of walking through the framework to help everyone kind of understand and get this, and how I took some of the averages to do it. So the question that we're going to ask that's worth asking is buying home today really an affordability issue, or is no one showed them the real math? And what I'm going to show you all is it's not an affordability issue. I always joke. So I live in Orange County, California. Average home price is $2.2 million. And they say there's an affordability issue. I said, there's no affordability issue in Orange County. The reality is you can't afford to live in Orange County. Like there's not an affordability issue in Beverly Hills. There are just some places that you can't afford to live. So that means you shouldn't live there. You can't afford to live there. You should live somewhere else. There's not this right to live in all of these places. But the funny thing is I think there is ability to live in other places if we start taking a holistic view of all of our finances. And so when we start looking at the inventory isn't really gone, it's just hidden. So 53% have a mortgage under 4%. That's just half. Everybody else has a mortgage above that. 94% are not living in the home that they actually want. And when I asked the room, there was, 5,000 people in the room, raise your hand if you're in your forever home. And about 5% probably raised their hand in the entire building. And I find that when I do these talks, it's about 94%. My wife and I live in this big, beautiful home. My daughters are both seniors next year. One's a senior in college, goes off to work, probably moving to Tennessee. The other one's going off to college. She's out. We don't need a big house. It makes no sense for us. Even if the kids come home and they come home with other kids, it still doesn't make sense for us for how often that happens. So A lot of people, if you're Generation X right now, you're becoming empty nesters. If you're baby boomers, you are retiring and moving on and becoming a fixed income. If you're millennials, you're finding, which is the largest group of people, now you're finding that you're having families and you need bigger houses. The migration of these different generations that are changing right now, not to mention all the people that rushed and bought a home in 2020 because they thought they were going to die, is an immense amount of people. And this shows, this is just one of them. And let's just say these two surveys that were used, two different surveys were wrong and it's 75%. That's 3 out of 4 people just aren't in the homes that they want, even if this is off. The other thing is making people understand that the real estate, because what I'm going to show is the solution to people that own real estate. If they don't own real estate, then they don't have a solution, but they're in the same boat. So think about that. You're a homeowner, you have a solution. You're not a homeowner, you don't. And here's the proof. It's a 43-1. You have 430 grand as your average net worth if you're a homeowner. It's 10,000 if you're a renter. So those people are like, it doesn't make sense for us to buy. It doesn't make sense for us to rent, or it only makes sense for us to rent. It's cheaper to rent. Is it really cheaper to rent? I mean, I could argue looking at this, it seems pretty expensive to be able to rent. This doesn't include whatever you've been paying in rent for X amount of years as well. So making sure that our realtor partners are acting more like wealth advisors because they are in control of more wealth than they ever have typically that people are in their 401ks. The other folks are either going to save money, and I don't know about you all, when I first saved 100 grand, it took me 12 years. It took me 12 months to lose it. So it took me 12 years to earn it, 12 months to lose it. And then it took me, I want to say, less than 36 months to earn it when I owned a home because I needed a roof over my head and I needed a mortgage and I needed a payment and a place to live. And then the house went up in value. And it really, I was able to earn that. I think it was less than almost 2 years in that particular condo that I had. So I think making sure that our referral partners understand that they're more wealth advisors than they realize and utilizing what I'm going to show you really does help. Here's the facts. Their mortgage is at 4.1%, not at 3. All right. So those that say, I have a 2.75 and everyone thinks everyone has a 2.75. I was there. I locked in a 2.25 on a 10-1 arm. It was there for 3 weeks. And you better have had your file there and it was ready to go and ready to lock in that 3-week window to get those really, really low rates because there was no reason for us to have super low rates because we couldn't handle the influx of business at a mortgage business as it was. So why would we keep our rates low? There's going to be a line out the door if I bump my rates a half a point anyways. And that's what the mortgage industry had to do. Weren't enough underwriters, weren't enough loan officers. It was madness. So it did drop low and the margins, we just raised margins back up as an industry. The rest of their life runs at 11.8 or 11.4, excuse me. Now, I would argue this will vary from place to place, but these are averages. So the rest of the nation, home equity is $295,000. The rest of the nation life debt, that's cards, auto, student loans, HELOCs. And by the way, HELOCs are mortgages. They're just credit cards that are attached to their home with no tax benefit anymore. The average homeowner, 104 grand. That's what they have, 104,000. If you're in California, you could see 484,000 and 121,000 in credit cards. If you live in Orange County, I would say it's closer to 250,000 non-mortgage debt that I see, and probably a little bit more. So obviously it's going to vary where you are in the nation, but look, just national average is what I'm going to show you all, because here's the math. Their blended average rate is 6.3%. So that person that goes, I have a 3%, I'm stuck and I don't want to go anywhere. What they don't know because they're ignorant to their finances, because the 7-year-old in them is actually handling their finances, is that their blended rate is 6.3% on average. Some a little lower, some a little higher, but roughly the going rate on a mortgage today. And that's not including if we use 2-1 buy downs or 1-1 buy downs. There's a 7.3% difference between their mortgage rate and everything else. So when they say they're rate sensitive, I say only when you're convenient. Like, what do you mean only when I'm convenient? Well, I say, well, it was because on your mortgage you're rate sensitive, but what are you on everything else? Well, I don't know what I'm on everything else, right? Because they don't want to know. Just like my dad who filed bankruptcy 3 times. He didn't want to know. So he didn't know. And same as myself. I didn't want to know, so I didn't know. The reality is everyone has their money getting auto deposited. Then they have all their bills getting auto debited. And then if there's a little money left over, awesome. And if there isn't enough money left over, then they just use their credit cards. That's the reality of the American people. When I ask how many people go through their monthly budgets and go line by line through all of their debts every single month to raise their hand, typically maybe 1% actually raise their hand. And I would say it's probably most of you on this call, do you literally intentionally every month look at all of your debts, all of your assets to make sure there's not fraud or double hits or whatever coming out? And the answer is no. Why? Because it's the 7-year-old was never taught how to do that. And the 12-year-old never observed their parents doing that. And the reason that we're a world superpower, the reason we're a world superpower is because we spend more money than anyone else. Think about that. And we're in the most amount of credit card debt in history, ever in the history of this country. It's roughly 3 trillion in debt. Do you know how much equity we have? 30. So why would you be stuck with 4 to 8 different bills with interest rates in the 11s on average in a house that you don't want to live because you just don't know, because no one's taken the time to run the math. You have no idea. And so this is why sitting down and showing them is key. So the answer is in their asset. It's a small, small problem, but the big solution because the equity is already there for them. And if they're not a homeowner, I would tell them, well, I wouldn't be so worried about being rate sensitive. Mortgage rates are at 6.5. You're at 11.4. What are you worried about? In fact, you have on a credit card, it's roughly a 25% term paying the minimum payment. You're going to take 25 years to pay off the credit card if you don't own a home. You might as well get in a home as quickly as you can so you can gain the appreciation so that you can utilize some of that appreciation because it's a heavily leveraged asset to be able to pay down your credit card because it's going to take you forever. The reality is people don't save. So we're going to inventory their debt, number one. Number two, we're going to leverage the home equity. Number three, we're going to pay down the debt or off the debt with equity. And then we're going to set up the next chapter for them in the new house and see it in real life. So I'm taking through this. Right now, we have a client. This particular client bought a $650,000 house in roughly 2020, 2019. Their monthly payment is $2,512 a month at 4.1%. It's a $520,000 loan amount. Now they have roughly a $460,000 balance. Their credit cards, again, national average, payments $435 a month, national average rate of 23%, auto loans 604, average of 9%, and everything else, student HELOCs, personal loans. I had one of my clients that I did this class for yesterday came up and showed me his personal loan for $221,000 at 8.5%. Think about that. And $661 a month. So this particular client right here is paying $4,212 a month. That is anywhere between 3 to 4 to 8 payments every single month of high interest, non-tax deductible, compounding interest on most of it, except for the mortgage, which is simple interest tax deductible. But they don't want to think about this. So when you go, oh, hey, well, no, I ain't moving. I have a $2,512 mortgage payment. I can't get rid of that. You're like, oh, okay. Because they don't want to think about everything else. So let's keep going. They owe 104 grand. In this instance, they sell their house today with a 5% average appreciation. They would sell it at about 871. So that leaves them with about 307 grand to put on their new house. So their equity is nearly 14 times their entire life debt. So why are you sitting there struggling month to month with all these debts, being stuck when you don't have to in a house that you don't even really want to be in? So the cards, the auto, all of this is about $1,700 a month. And this is a gimme. Again, this is a national average because I see stuff that make like, I just talked to someone yesterday, had a G-Wagon. It was $1,200 a month just for their G-Wagon. They bought the G-Wagon for a tax benefit, but they're living paycheck to paycheck. Do you understand? That's the average person's confused. They just don't know. And the only reason I know is because pain creates change, creates growth. In 2009 and 96, I had enough pain to create a change to create the growth in me. Here's the new home. So now I'm going to take them and throw them in a $950,000 home because they want a new home, a better home, a bigger home at 6.5%. Their new payment's $4,064, all mortgage, tax deductible, one payment every single month. When we compare the two side by side, they were paying 4,200. Now they're paying 4,064. I'm saving them $150 a month in this particular instance. If you want to go ahead and you say, oh, well, I live in Orange County and my world, cool, double all the numbers, it still pencils out. Double the house, double the payments, double the equity, double the debts, double everything. Now you have a bigger home, zero life debt, one sale, one purchase, both the realtors. And here's the kicker. Look in the bottom. You see monthly appreciation on their old house with $3,069 a month. The monthly assumed appreciation on the new house is $3,958 a month. That's almost $900 a month more in appreciation. Because the reason is people don't think of this as monthly savings. They think of it as I bought the home at this, I sold the home at this, but every month you live in the house, there's not $3,900 a month in appreciation that they're being forced to save until they sell the house. And the proof is here. The proof is this person had that appreciation, which afforded them to buy the new house, afforded them to pay off all their debt and move into the next scenario. And let's think about this. Like, even if this person's payment went up $500 or $1,000 a month, it probably still makes sense for them because emotionally they can be in the right house. And they just paid off all of this bad debt and turned it into good debt, appreciating debt, simple interest debt, fixed term debt. So this is where people are screwing things up. So here's the deal. If realtors are on this call, or if you have a referral partner that is a realtor, they don't want to have these conversations. Number one, I would say shame on you. But number two is no problem, then we'll have it, because loan officers like myself, we're used to having like nasty conversations all the time. Like, hey, Kristen, there's a $25,000 Amex card on here. I don't have an Amex. Well, that's funny. Your wife does, and it looks like you co-signed. So yes, you do. Like, those are conversations we have all the time. Well, no, that's not my husband's. Oh, whose is that? That's my mistress's. Like, if 30 years of conversations and I'm just throwing a couple at you, these are tough conversations. We don't mind having them. So for you, you just say, hey, you locked in a great rate, but your credit cards, your car loan, your home equity line of credit, they're bleeding you at 8 to 23%. I work with a lender who will run the exact numbers and show you whether your equity could erase the debt and still move you into the home that you actually want. I'll connect you. So just having that conversation, if you had 52, like if you just had one conversation a week running through the numbers here, think about that. Even if you converted at 25%, if you're a realtor, it's 500 grand in California. It's $273 in extra commission. So not only are you helping people get off the fence, but the numbers don't lie. For me, like, I'm probably going to have 5 of these conversations, 10 of these conversations a week. Every single pre-approval letter now that goes out from my team has a life rate attached to it. So instead of my client going out thinking that they're moving up with a 3%, so they're going to be picky and scared and don't want to do anything, they're going out going, no, we have a 6.5%. And the sooner we can get out of it and into our dream home and debt free, the better. We're looking at this as a debt consolidation purchase loan, not necessarily a debt consolidation refinance. Because a refinance is going to require savings. A purchase loan isn't. A purchase loan is going to require just putting myself in a better financial decision. And when you run the numbers and include the increased appreciation, it works every time. Because in this instance, I showed you another $900 in appreciation. And I'm not even including the extra tax benefit because I didn't even put that on my form because it just can vary too much. But the reality is that increases the benefit that much more. More debt, higher tax write-off, the better it is for them. So this should work. There's the debt consolidation worksheet. You guys can all go to my website and give it a try. Here's what I would say that folks should do and play with. They should do it themselves. The realtors should do it themselves as well and know what your life rate is. Because like when I started this conversation and I was vulnerable with you and showed you some of my pain and what I went through and where I'm at, it's going to generally connect, meaning you're going to listen more because I've been through that pain. So having walked through and understanding what your life rate is, like where are you? Could you buy your next home? Could you possibly, and what would the savings and benefit be? Now, as a realtor too, you can have these conversations. I mean, realtors should literally be walking them through this every single time and sending it to them so that they know what their life rate is truly before going out there. And if you have sellers that are stuck on the fence too, the sellers are sitting there going, I don't know, I don't want to negotiate. I got a 3% on this house. Now they're going to look at it differently. The sellers are going to be like, holy moly, man, I'm listing this house. I've got a 6.5 life rate. So the sooner I can get rid of this house, the better, and move into the house that I really want to. You see, the massive exodus from California was this. They just didn't really realize it. People decided to sell their big expensive homes, go move to places like Texas, buy cheaper homes, pay off all their debt, and live a better life. They never really understood what they were doing tactically. And so the people that didn't want to necessarily move to Texas or wherever they wanted to go are still stuck here, but they're not really stuck here. And again, that one referring partner that I told you about, he filled this out yesterday and he said, man, it looks like I'm going to be giving you a call. I'm going to sell my house and my wife and I are going to go buy a $2.5 million house. We didn't realize that we could. So I implore and encourage you all to have as many conversations like this as you can. Teach this to your referral partners because I'm going to be hitting the road with this soon through Fidelity Title and some big title companies to literally go in front of as many realtors as possible around the country because I feel like this conversation is the conversation that can literally change the entire market where people think they're stuck and they're not as stuck as they think they are. And for those people that are like, oh, okay, I pay off all my bills every single month. I don't have any debts. Okay, those are the top one percenters. You're always going to have the top one percenters. The reality is that's not the average American. So I hope this was helpful for you all, and I can answer any questions. And yeah, the monthly appreciation number I took at 5%. And in on the actual worksheet, you can put in whatever appreciation number that you want. My buddy over at Palm Agent, which is a calculator app, a lot of real estate agents use, title companies use it. So sometimes they call it like Chicago Agent or something like that. It's already built in there as well. What do I say to people to motivate them to complete the worksheet and take it seriously? I would say, hey, Kimmy, do you know what your life rate is? I just asked that question. And they're going to be like, well, what is that? Well, what's the rate that you pay on your entire life? Would you want to know that? Well, yeah, awesome. Do you have a few minutes? We can figure it out pretty quickly. Everyone wants to know an answer to a question that they don't have an answer to, especially something as prevalent as rate. The reason everyone talks rate is they don't know what else to ask. And so since they're all stuck on asking about rate, then you ask them the most important question about rate they don't have the answer to that they know they should, it forces them to want to have the conversation more. The
And
calculator,
we'll send, yeah.
yeah, the calculator was, you can go to mazzogroupmarketing.com, go to tools, and it's called Debt to Dream Home. And then the other
And we'll
is,
send that out to you guys
yeah,
too.
cool. And then Palm Agent is another one that has it on there as well.
I was just thinking we should add this to our calculators or at least some kind of link to it in the calculators because I'm thinking you're probably getting most of these it sounds like through realtor conversations, right? Like they're already talking to a realtor and then they discover, oh, this is a an opportunity, but there's probably a lot of people that don't realize and aren't talking to a realtor yet, you know?
Oh yeah, like we're going back to every pre-approval we have and making sure they all know what their life rate is. I
Okay,
don't,
amazing. I love that.
yeah,
What
I
does
don't want,
that script look like for you?
yeah, I don't want them to think that they have a 3%, right? So it's going to be re-engage and go, hey, we have a tool that can figure out what your life rate is. Do you know what your life rate is? The question is, do you know what your life rate is? No one knows what their life rate is. No one does. No one cares. No one thinks about it. No one wants to know. So that's just having that conversation. Awesome. Well, when you're out there shopping for a house, would it be helpful to know that you actually have an interest rate of 6.3 instead of 3%? Would that help you maybe think of things a little differently in this current market? Yeah, it sure would. Awesome. Well, let's take a look at that. Let's walk through and make sure we know exactly where you stand. And if they stand in a really great place, then you go, awesome. Good job. Congratulations. I'm super proud of you. Make sure you're not one of the rest of the people. It is the blended rate here. It is the blended rate calculator for a Palm agent, Guillermo. And it's a 2-minute calculator that we built that together. And the cool part is in that one, it puts in the tax benefit as well. Well, that's all I got, Kristen.
Uh, Questions. This is so good. Have you had any objections from realtors that are, Justin was asking this question about the strategy, and if so, how are you responding to that?
No, I had like honestly, I had one objection from a realtor who said, "Well, why wouldn't people just file bankruptcy?" And it took me like every ounce of
Oh,
to not make him like to it took every ounce of me not to respond in an unprofessional manner, just having been there. But no, most of them like it clicks, their mouth drop, they understand. Holy moly, there isn't anything to object. I think the only other objection, honestly, I thought about was like, well, what about the people that pay off all their debts, right? Everyone wants to go to the one percenters. It's like, no, man, like that is not the one percenters. Most amount of credit card history in the United States, in the history of this country. Like that's a fact. That doesn't take into account all the personal loans, the HELOCs, and people get a HELOC, and you know what they do? Then they need another HELOC because they ran their credit cards up again. So it's just we can't help ourselves, and that's the basis of our economy, unfortunately.
yeah. I think it's interesting looking at the like, we want to look bigger picture at what wealth means to us beyond just the home purchase. And I think that incorporating this helps people feel like you're not just the transaction, you're truly an advisor. And I think that builds trust. And for me, I feel like one of the reasons why I've cared about education is because I feel like I shut down when it comes to anything related to, a finance in general. And so home ownership, you can zero in and kind of get there and be really focused. But I would imagine there's going to be a lot of people that struggle with taking that step back and seeing the big picture of their finances overall. So I like also that you're connecting this to your story and recognizing that people are taught them their 7-year-old self. So like whatever, they may be hiding things, they may be, it's just all of that is the psychology of it really plays a big role in what you're doing and how you're building trust through this.
Yeah, and I think that's why if you all do it yourselves, then it makes it easier for you to share. Go, I don't know about you, but I just found out my life rate was 8%. And oh my gosh, I have 12 different debts. And I really took the time to do this. It made a big, big difference.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much. Let's see, we might have one more question. If I understand, the strategy can help unlock homeowners who want to buy but don't want to move from a 3% rate to a 6.5% rate.
That's
Correct.
correct because Justin, they have a 6.5 rate. They just don't, they want to ignore all the other debt that's involved in it.
Well, thank you so much. This is absolutely fantastic. We're getting tons of great feedback. I will send out the recording and that the tool that you shared to all of the attendees. And for those who are interested, all of our past masterminds are in that Teach platform. So you just click Mastermind at the top, and you can view some of our past recordings. Really looking forward to continuing the work together. Thank you so much, JJ, for being a part of this mission.
Yeah, thank you so much. I appreciate it. You too, Kristen. See you
All
guys.
right. Thanks, everybody. Bye.